Good day, people of YouTube. This is your buddy Choppadong coming at you with another video today. This is January 3rd, and yesterday was a bigger slate in NHL. Today's a little bigger slate in NBA, so let's shift over and talk some basketball today. I haven't dug into NBA for quite a long time, so I designed a little graphic that I used to do when I wrote for DFS Army and was more of an NBA contributor. Now I've switched over to more NHL. I just like that sport better. Doesn't mean we can't print money in NBA, and if you look at our track record out on Twitter, you will find that the DFS Army absolutely crushes NBA. It's not close. It's almost like taking candy from babies. So let's show you a little bit of how we do that. If you're like me, you generally spend your time elsewhere and you do very minimal research in NBA, but a lot of people out there like NBA very, very much, and you guys spend a lot of time researching it, trying to perfect your process. So what I want to show the very newest people, or some of the hockey people that want to learn NBA and really and truly want to learn why you should be a member inside DFS Army, is even a dumbass NHL player like me can teach you a little bit about NBA. You sophisticated NBA guys aren't going to get much out of this, but the new guys, you just might. This is a very, very old method that I used to use, and it is actually still a very, very good method. We've noticed that through the years, the implied totals, team totals, and the over-unders have gone up well over 200. They didn't used to be that way. It used to be 185, 190. When we got a 2 or 205 for the game, it was actually quite a special deal. Now it's 220 and 230. That's a big deal. So what we're trying to do is use that spread and use that to create that implied total like we used to do in NFL to tell us which teams should be doing the bulk of the scoring in a high-scoring game. But we're also going to use the compare it to your average points per game, see who is pointed up. That's what I used to call it, pointed up or pointed down for the day, and average pace of play versus the other team's pace and all of that good stuff to see who is paced up and paced down. What we want for a team, for an offense, typically is a team scheduled to score a lot of points that is scheduled to be pointed up for the day above their average, due in large part to added pace. That means that in the NBA, the overall average salary is based on a certain production level or a certain average score that a player puts up. And in a lot of cases, as the NBA travels around the country and faces different matchups, a certain team will fall into a very, very good spot, either versus a weaker defense, or, say the Utah Jazz go somewhere out west, further west, where they are playing a faster paced game. They're going to get more possessions. Therefore, they're going to get more opportunities to score. Therefore, you're generally going to see their production take a slight uptick. And when that happens, they are priced according to their average, which means when they're going to outproduce their average, they're going to outproduce their salary level, which it brings inherent value to those players. Now, not always, but that's a good general way to think about the basics of your research when you're looking at NBA. So as I dive in, the teams in green are the ones that I'm really wanting to look at. Denver Nuggets today playing Phoenix. Their implied total of 114, they are favored in the game, but their implied total of 114 against their average of 107 means they are supposed to score 7 more points per game than usual. All that means is they are in a better opportunity to score than usual. They are also paced up. They are going to be playing faster. That's going to add to this point total. Denver's in a pretty good spot. Now, you're going to have to do your research. You're going to have to dig deeper and find out which players, or if that is a fallacy, or if it's truly a good spot. But I'm going to tell you, when you're looking at a slate at the very, very beginning of your research process, this is where you start. Who is supposed to score points? Who is going to outperform their averages in both points and pace? And is this a team that I want to dig deeper into? The answer typically is yes. When I look at the Houston Rockets, they are scheduled to score 114 tonight. They are usually scoring 115, so they're going to be right about average. This red is kind of interesting. I guess I didn't shift that off. That should be very, very green. I may change that later, but for now in this column, red is green, green is red. Sorry. Especially sorry if you're colorblind, because I just confused the crap out of you. But we're looking at a slightly lower point total, a higher pace. This is kind of a neutral spot. When I look at a team that is pointed down, they're implied to score 111. They usually score 115. They're pointed, and it's Golden State. They're going to get theirs. Don't get me wrong, but look at the pace. Dallas is going to tend to slow them down. This means that Golden State may lean a little towards the overpriced side of things. Now you're not going to go very many slates in NBA without taking a Warrior or two, but be very, very careful about who's already borderline overpriced in that lineup, because this is going to add just a little bit more to that overpriced category and maybe take you off those players if you're disciplined and you're smart. We'll get plenty of other opportunities to play a bunch of Golden State players when they're back in more favorable situations. Toronto, not pointed up, about the same, not paced up. Minnesota pointed up and paced up. Pointed up is Washington, paced down. Pointed up is Milwaukee, paced down, but very, very slightly. Pointed up and paced up Orlando, pointed up and paced up Utah. Utah is playing New Orleans. It's going to be a faster team. They're going to score a few more points as a result of that. I don't mind some Utah Jazz because, again, that is telling me that they might be carrying a little bit of value in their pricing based on the fact their average is a slower team and a lower scoring team, and tonight they're supposed to do better. That's going to bring value. Pointed up, paced up a little bit. Chicago Bulls, not a bad spot again. Let's see. Pointed way down. The Pelicans, that's because Utah's going to tend to slow them down. I mean, this game's a double whammy. New Orleans is going to tend to point and pace the Jazz up, and the Jazz are going to tend to point and pace New Orleans down. Therefore, New Orleans is in a slightly unfavorable spot based on current pricing. Phoenix, same diff. Brooklyn, same diff. So and then we need to see some numbers here. Vegas has not released all of the numbers on all of the games, but what we want to see is maybe the numbers come out, on the Thunder, because if they're paced up and they're pointed up, it's a good spot for Westbrook and guys like that. LA Lakers are already paced down according to this matchup facing Oklahoma City because they play a lot faster style. It's going to, again, tend to bring Oklahoma City up, and Oklahoma City is going to tend to bring the LA Lakers down. So these are games, in some cases, you can look straight at pace and go to the 103s, Phoenix, Brooklyn, Philly, LA, and you can pretty much start targeting offenses that way. But I like looking at the point total and the pace total in conjunction with itself. Hopefully that's a little bit of a tip for you today. This graphic is something that I've done. It's my own little secret spreadsheet I'm sharing with you. As you can see, I do some hockey stuff in it. I do a lot of NFL stuff in it. It's where a lot of my graphics come from if you follow me out on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, this is where you find me, at Chapadong. I do an awful lot of jibber jabber off and on throughout the day, where, anything from just goofy stuff and fun stuff down to screenshots of my own performances. My videos land out there. Our other Army members' articles land out there. Testimonials land out there. Again, screenshots, articles, blah, 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 blah. And just some good-natured ribbing. Hopefully goes back and forth. So follow me out on Twitter, at Chapadong, and let's engage. Ask me questions out there if you want to. I usually get back to people when I get tagged. So let's jump into another little tip when it comes to NBA. And this I'll use Roto Grinders for just because it's much faster right now than other stuff that I have access to. But what I want to show you is when we've targeted an offense, like, we think that Oklahoma City might be, in a little bit better spot being paced up tonight. What we're looking for is who in that offense, if they're pointed up and paced up now, where, what exactly are we looking for inside that offense? Who's going to get the production? Because fantasy sports, again, is all about knowing where the goal's going to get scored, where the touchdown's going to get scored, who's got the most likely opportunity to succeed in that scenario when their team finds themselves in a good spot. And in this case, we can go to season numbers, we can go to the point guard position, and we can sort out accordingly. I shift down to salary, and what I want to show you is another general correlation. This is for the new guys. Experienced guys already know this. You're looking for, with basketball, you're looking for minutes. You want to see who is on the court. If you're not on the court, you ain't got no chance at scoring points. But if you are on the court, you're going to obviously find yourself in some opportunities to play if you don't just stand in the corner waiting to hoosh some threes. You know what I mean? So who plays the minutes? Most of your starting point guards are going to be playing minutes. As you scroll down the list, you can see where the backups start coming in here and the number gets lower. But who plays the minutes? Who plays monster minutes? And here's the second number that you use in conjunction with that. Usage. Usage is a phenomenal stat. It tends to show you how often a guy touches the ball on possessions up the court. And if the ball is in my hands, I have opportunities to do stuff with it. Again, if I'm just standing in the corner waiting to huck threes, it ain't helping me. My usage number is going to indicate that even though I'm on the court a ton, my usage number is very, very low. Therefore, unless I am nearly perfect with my efficiency, I ain't scoring you a lot of points. So what I'm looking for is who's playing the minutes, who's got the usage, and that's going to translate into fantasy points per game. If you look at Russell Westbrook, probably one of the better examples in the NBA, 35 minutes a game, 35% usage, 36% usage translates into a lot of fantasy points, very high floor, very good cash game player, night in and night out. When I look down a little bit more, look, the usage number dropped from Chris Paul. The minutes dropped a little bit, the usage number dropped a little bit, so did the average fantasy points. So you can already see the correlation starting to work. Similar to Chris Paul in the minutes, a little more usage, more points. See how that's working? That is how you use these in conjunction with each other. If we scroll all the way down, you'll watch some usage drop off. Bam, all the way down here, only 17 minutes for Tyus Jones. But even when he plays, only 12% usage. Boom, no points. So really and truly, the very, very basics of NBA research are revolved around what team is pointed up, paced up, scheduled to score a lot of points tonight, and who on that offense gets the usage, gets the minutes, and gets the usage. These are the plays that should form your core. It doesn't take all day to put together very, very good lineups. As luck would have it, once you develop some of those core players, then we can walk through some of the real fun over here in the Domination Station inside DFSArmy.com, which I will show you here in a minute. But what I want to show you is a little bit about Slack and a little bit of the conversation that goes down to really on a normal basis. If I can find it, it looks like it's already kind of crapped around on me a little bit. I had it set to a certain spot. I'm hoping I can find it again. Guys, we're talking a lot about Kawhi Leonard last night and whatnot, and I very loosely follow the news. I'm still a competitive NBA player because of the tools inside DFSArmy.com, but these guys are talking all day long. If you can follow the conversations, I scroll through it. I'm looking for a very specific starting point, so I apologize for killing and wasting some of your time here. But it's just there. When a new guy shows up, we tend to welcome the guy. He asks a couple of questions, seems to like the optimizer early on. That's great. Bang. One of our moderators automatically jumps in and says, here's a couple of things that you need to see when you're brand new. You need to watch this video podcast by the founder, Football Geek, and you need to read the ladder structure or the ladder strategy. No, I guess this is contest selection, but it's the same type of thing. We've got a few articles out there that all of our new guys need to be reading, so we throw those links in there. And this is a catch-all because the ladder system is inside there. But when you scroll down, guys get a little bit of advice right out of the gate. And this newer guy says, last year was his first in DFS, and he did okay, not doing as well this year. So he thought he'd come over here and take a look at some of the features. He loves how we can control exposure. He likes the optimizer so far. He tries not to remove players from an optimizer, without clear data, and that's very, very smart. So, but let me show you a little trick to using our optimizer for those of you that may be using it or maybe sitting on the fence wondering what it's all about and if it's really that good. And I will tell you, yeah, it's that good. But these are the things that guys will talk about. The more experienced players help the newer players answer their questions, get them brought up to speed, shorten their learning curve. That is what DFS Army does that nobody else in the industry does. That is why we set ourselves apart. Look, another article to be linked, a tutorial for the sim model. So let's walk through a little bit of the DFS Army website and let me show you a little bit of how this works out. Sorry that you can't see absolutely everything. I cut it off a little bit. Apologize for that. But this is under the NBA tab. This is the Domination Station Optimizer. This is last night's stuff. Okay? 5-game slate last night. Let's take a look at what I'm going to show you really quickly. It has a lot of features in it where you can edit some of the numbers, the minutes, the points per minute, if that's what you want to do. You want to customize your own projections, you can certainly do that. You want to control some of your exposure, you can do that. Set your minimum exposure. I want him in at least 25% of my lineups. I want him in no more than 50% of my lineups. You can do that with a simple click of a button and highlighting the right area and adjust out these players. And what the really good guys do is they'll run maybe a couple of default lineups, or maybe they'll lock a core of players in, and then they'll start tweaking these numbers to control their exposure. They see a guy is a little heavy. He showed up in 7 of my 10 lineups. I really want him in more like 5. So they'll either lock him over here with the maximum exposure, or they'll come over here and control his minutes, bump him down from 35 to 34 to 33 or something, and they'll start taking him out of some of those lineups. And they really control and tweak their lineups that way, and they're really able to get a good player mix centered around their core and get into some GPPs that are a little bit multi-entry, 3 max, 20 max, sometimes 150 max, whatever. We have guys doing it all, and you can absolutely demolish some of these things just based on using this optimizer correctly. Now, if you're lazier like me or you're just beginning, this is what I would recommend you do with a lineup or 2 on a given night, just to give yourself a proven track record of something that does work in cash games, so it can sort of soften the losing. A lot of guys come over to us because they've been losing players over the past, year or 2 years or whatever, and you're just looking for a winning method. Well, here is one sort of winning method for you. You can run, say 5 lineups, 1 unique player. What does this mean? Well, I can run, 150, 200 lineups if I want, but I can also just run the 5 default lineups if I want to. If I run 1 unique player, now there's all sorts of, there's tournament mode, whatever else, I just leave it in optimal, but I'm using 1 unique player at first, and when I click that down and click optimize, it spits out 5 lineups with 1 unique player per lineup. Now, it doesn't always work that way. You'll find 2, sometimes 3, because the salary algorithms kind of mess it up and it forces to switch and swap. But here's your optimal lineup: Schroeder, Hill, Booker, Bazemore, LeBron, Kawhi, Zebo, Marvin Williams, and Cantor last night. But you go down this one, this second lineup here swapped 1 player: Schroeder, Hill, Booker, McCollum. Now, because McCollum's salary was way different than Bazemore, it probably had to make up for it somewhere else. So it probably swapped out 2 players: LeBron, Kawhi, Zebo, Marvin Williams, Tyson Chandler. There's you went down here to go up for McCollum. But swap out 1 more player off of this optimal, another unique player, and boom, Patty Mills finds his way in there. So there's going to be a 1,200 up somewhere else: Booker, Bazemore, Kawhi, John Collins, and Alex Len. So there's 3 players. But you can see what it's doing. It's running a very, very tight core. It wants a lot of Schroeder. It wants a lot of Booker. It wants a lot of LeBron. It wants a lot of Zebo. That's the core that the optimizer identified last night, and a lot of Kawhi for what it wants to do. Now, if I want, this is going to be very, very boom or bust, to be honest. So you're either going to have a very good night or a very bad night when you use this method. And it's fine for most slates. It's had a very good track record. This optimal and anything close to the optimal lineup has had a very good track record inside DFSR. But what I want you to see is how you can start changing that. Let's say you want to spread out a little bit more in cash games, where you don't want to take too much risk. Therefore, you don't want a super tight core that is so boom or bust, where it depends on all 4 or 5 of those guys having good games, where if they don't, then everything's crap. We don't want that. So we're going to widen our core out a little bit. We're going to use more unique players. Watch what happens when I go all the way down to 5 unique players per lineup. Watch how it shuffles this up. You saw before that it was very, very focused on quite a few players. When I scroll back down here and look at the mix. I've got some Schroeder, but I've got some Walker. I've got Tony Parker, Patty Mills, Tony Parker, George Hill. Those guys weren't in the original tighter core. Booker. Still likes a lot of Booker, but it did take him out of a lineup. It put in Kent Bazemore and McCollum a little bit more. So it's pretty tight still on its shooting guards. LeBron. Okay, it likes a lot of LeBron. That's a very, very key to what you would have been looking at last night. It takes some Kawhi out of there and spreads them around a little bit. Zebo, same diff. You know, not as much Zebo, where he was kind of an all-in play along with Marvin Williams, and now they're mixing in John Collins, JaMychal Green, you know, Blake Griffin a little bit here and there. And look, it's only got a couple of Chandlers and Lenz and a Cantor. So bottom line is it really broadened out your player pool for you, and it really showed you the power of this tool. Again, you can control the max and min exposures in here, or the minutes, or the points per game, but you can also control a small amount of it. If I wanted to run 25 lineups with 5 unique players and really spread myself out, this may take a couple of minutes to process. But as it's processing, you can start getting a look at how these guys are running. You can come over here and take a look. It's going to have a lot of Schroeder. It's going to have a lot of LeBron. You know, and as it shuffles around, but it's going to really have a lot more guys down here towards the bottom, a lot of onesies and twosies and stuff, just in case these guys have good games. This is how you can really control and play with this. Spend an hour or two playing with this optimizer. Once the projections are finalized for today, January 3rd, if you're a VIP, jump in here and mess around with this thing. This is what guys are doing to absolutely demolish the NBA. Now, if we scroll down a little bit more, we move on. We've got articles, we've got adjusted DVP numbers. Everybody knows defense versus position. But our adjusted numbers, you sort them out. Who's got the best point guard matchups today? Who's got the best shooting guard matchups today? You know, these are tiebreaker type situations where if I come down to LA and Orlando's small forward, or LA and Portland's small forward, I may use the tiebreaker and take the LA small forward. If that makes sense. Because he's in a little bit better matchup. He's playing a team that allows a little bit more points to the small forward position. That's just one way to do it. It's little tiebreakers. It can indicate value. It can show you some guys that are in good spots that maybe some of the other, when we dig a little deeper, these are the things that we look at. On the surface, you're going to miss a lot of this stuff. Depth chart hub. Taking a quick look here at the depth chart hub. This is going to show you who your starting players are. I haven't looked at this before, so you're going to have to forgive my ignorance, but it looks to me like it shows injuries, which is great. And it shows a little bit of these types of numbers, you know, pace and efficiency numbers, but it denotes the starters. And then, of course, it shows their backups. I wish I knew what the number in parentheses meant. Maybe it's what it is. Maybe Beasley's sixth man, and then maybe Howard. That's the next guy off the bench. So these guys are that second rotation of players with O'Quinn in there. So maybe that's who comes in and starts taking some of these guys out. I think that's actually what that means the more I look at it. But I haven't gotten confirmation for that question. So take that with a grain of salt. What I do know is that when all of a sudden Bradley Beal is out, then we're going to either slot in a lot more minutes for Oubre, or maybe Meeks just gets the start. And those are things you need to follow in our Slack forums, like I said before, because you follow these little news and notes channels and whatnot, and you can get those pivots and get those tips and then make those smart adjustments to your lineups accordingly. But again, the depth chart hub is going to show you and teach you basketball. If you don't know the league, now you've got a way to find where these players are and where they're going to be getting their minutes from. You know, when a Dragic gets injured, you know that Johnson's coming in and he's going to get a lot of the run. So that helps you adjust on the fly at 5:30 when you get some late scratch you weren't expecting. It helps defend, and of course the advice in the Slack forums helps defend against what it is you're trying to, you know, panic and avoid. If we scroll down the Pick'em spreadsheet, prior day's results, we've tracked our results. That's how transparent we are. You want to see how we did yesterday when the results come up, you click on DraftKings or Fanduel, and then you can compare that with the projections from yesterday before they update that Domination Station optimizer, and you can see how accurate it really was. The sim model is another thing that I'll show you briefly, because this is the first thing updated every day. And I'm not sure if this has been updated today or not, and I don't really think I'm sharing too much proprietary information with you, because this stuff, I mean, I don't even know how to use it, and I don't think, well, we have guys that do know how to use it, but I'm pretty basic when it comes to NBA, as you can tell by this video. You can see the projections and then the projected value, the projected minutes, floor, ceiling, 4x, 5x, 6x type numbers. This is pretty standard of what you find in a lot of places, but it's going to start telling you where our projections are. So you can start locking in guys that you're wanting to key on. Like, of course, Russell Westbrook is projected for the most points, but is he projected for the most value? He's up there. But if I try to sort this out a little bit and bring them to the top, it looks like Holmes is in there, Karl Anthony Towns, it looks like PJ Tucker, Kyle Anderson. Where's Westbrook? He's a little bit down the list. So no, he's not the highest value on the night based on projections and matchup. But these guys up in here, maybe Karl Anthony Towns is a player that you like based on this value, and so you go ahead and lock him in to the Domination Station and then just run him in, say, 75 to 80% of your lineups, and then take what it spits out around that. And if Karl Anthony Towns has a good game and you run 4 lineups with him in 3 of them, then you're going to have yourself a pretty good start to your evening. You surround him with some of this other value that happens, to go boomsticks, then you've probably got yourself a pretty good run. And it just depends on how you mixed up those secondary plays, which is another thing we're always talking about inside DFS Army. So, guys, that's just a brief rundown. I'll leave you with a little bit of the pricing information. I'm a coach and contributor inside DFS Army. I'm in there off and on all day long. I make these videos, throw them on YouTube, throw them on Twitter, and I do a lot of content. We've got neat tools coming for NHL. We've got a lot of stuff in place for NBA. We're absolutely killing it. If you join another site, use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, and get that free month. Get that free month of our website or our VIP experience, and take a look at what it is that we offer. Standard pricing obviously is $40 a month, knocks it down to about 36 or so if you use that coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P. I would very much love for you to do that, because honestly, it tells my bosses that we're doing a good job, that we're out there and we're finding new players and we're growing the community, because I don't know who you are. What I know is you either need something from us or you can provide something to us. And we're looking for people who like building their own lineups. We're looking for people who don't want to just go and take a handout from the lazy bastards out there in Twitter land that suck at giving lineups. These guys that are free, they suck. How do I know? Because every time they go through a losing streak, they change their name and they run away. They basically rob your PayPal account, and then they don't ever show up. They're chicken shit cowards, man. They drive me freaking bad shit. So what I would love to see is our community continue to rise, continue to grow. We're obviously doing something right. We've grown from, I was one of the original 8 or 10 members, and we've grown well through 500, 1,000, 1,500 members. As we continue to grow, it's because of the community, it's because of the transparency that we offer, and it's because we offer value for the pricing. Guys, don't miss the boat. This price is going really, honestly, nowhere but creeping up as we continue to add more stuff, add more resources, and bring even more value to the DFS community. If you don't believe me, find the website, find our testimonials, follow the link in this video or in the description of this video. Click like, click subscribe. Let my bosses know that you think that I provide you interesting content and I provide you solid content that actually helps you get better as a DFS player. And if you want even more access to me and our other coaches, jump inside dfsarmy.com and give us a shot. Guys, that's January 3rd's NBA type video, and we will see you when we see you.